Y'all think Giorno gets mob boss privileges and gets choice seats or front row seats at Trish's concerts, his crew included? Sup y'all, welcome to Channel Zarobski Cristal over here being Bucciarati's widow while drawing his baby girl. Basically, Trish is, como se dice, a baby girl ng bayan. Everybody except Diablos. I've said it once, I'll say it again. Diablo may have been her father, but he wasn't her daddy. Without further ado, let's get to the specs. As usual, mute me, play music of your own, or both, or neither, whatever. Power is a choice is a power, and more power to ya. This piece, Senyorita Una, is ink and watercolor on 7.5 inch by 10 inch paper. The inspiration came from This Is Lele, link below's work, where the Passione Bambini were getting babysat by John, Paul, George, and I mean Bruno, Risotto, Prosciutto, and Polnareff. And little Twishy's wearing this floor-length dress with poofy sleeves, and the skirt kind of looks like plaid. To my eyes, it looks like Filipiniana, butterfly sleeves and all, so naturally, of course, I had to flesh out a design. Disclaimer, I am not a total expert on my culture or history, neither am I a lone representative. There are more qualified people to use as reference. I'm just narrating what I as a native know and remember so far. Correct me if I'm wrong and or comment additional notes, trivia, factoids, whatever else below. Filipiniana is a catch-all term for all and any media like publications, literature, or periodicals in Filipino and or about Filipino life and or culture that's inclusive of dialects and regional languages. But in fashion and clothing, Filipiniana is a catch-all term for traditional costume and accoutrement. And there are so many types and subtypes like colonial, pre-colonial, indigenous clothes and textiles still being worn today by their respective ethno-linguistic groups, etc. Trishy here is wearing a type of modern terno. Now, I'll go into the heritage of this garb some other video. If I did that now, we'd be here all day. The modern terno is basically any gown, dress, or shirt with butterfly sleeves. What are butterfly sleeves? Butterfly sleeves are these big paddle-like sleeves sitting on the terno's shoulders. They're either billowy or transparent or hard and starchy or plain or embroidered or individual and separate from the dress or gown or attached or worn like a bolero or shrug. Different substyles of terno are adapted for today, from corporate-ish dresses to bridal gowns to casual tops paired with pants. The terno is one of the colonial styles that eventually arrived during the occupation years of Spain. Other colonial styles include the Maria Clara gown or the traje de mestiza, which were a little more wrapped, layered, and flowy. Another style is the barot saya, literally top and skirt. The common barot saya style for girls to wear in school during activities like August, the month of language, or Buwan ng Wika. For the week of language, it's Linggo ng Wika. The barot saya often involves plaid fabric for the skirt and this little shoulder sash thing they got going on. And to me, that'd be great substituted by Trish's mathematical pattern. Now, there's no age limit between these styles and sub-styles per se, but let's just say there's a difference between a school kid's costume in a play and an actual formal garment for functions and occasions like weddings and state dinners. I chose a terno for Trish because not only does it look age appropriate on her, but I feel a barot saya might look quote unquote kiddie on her for lack of a better term. Yes, I remember my inspiration from This Is Lele, but here we're drawing Trish as she is, 15. At the same time, I felt that traje de mestiza would look mature on her. She'd pull it off, no doubt, and I'd pull off drawing her, but it'd look so grown up. And she's not there yet, IMO. It was either a terno or a Maria Clara gown. Maria Claras are more known for their vertical stripes on their skirt, while a terno can be a wild card, creativity limited to the designer. Plus, Trish's got long legs. I feel it'd suit her better. I had half a mind to make it knee-length, poofy, petticoated A-line skirt, too like the poodle skirt from the 50s, but I stuck with this design. I started with the wash, the watercolor background with yellow, then did the salmon after, blending it till about a quarter of the way there. Side note, if you gonna mix media like ink and watercolor, beware of chalky pigments because they will ruin your pens. While the watercolor was drying, I was swatching my pens, glitters, metallics, neon. I decided what did color what, and TBH, I was somewhat hesitant on glitter on glitter. Usually, pens like these are for accents only, but I still wanted to try it for the heck of it. I had an idea doodle and scribbles and notes, but there was no study for this. I just rifled through options and designs and silhouettes in my head, and boom, here she is. But I was art blocked for a bit when it came to her shoes. Traditionally, Filipinanas worn with slippers, for example, wooden soled sandals called bakya. But today, a lady may wear anything she so desires, be they pumps, stilettos, wedges, Adidas, whatever. But for Trish here, I kinda mind blocked till I settled for Victorian boots as a reference. But as I was sketching the outline, I basically said, fuck it, let's make them gold pumps. Depending on the translation, Cinderella either wore glass, gold, or fur slippers. So yeah, let's make Trish Italian gangbanger pop star Cinderella and Filipiniana. Let's go with that. The design on her ankle on the stocking are called clocks. That's the thing that kind of happened in Europe or colonial America in the 1700s. Usually clocks would be on both sides of the ankles, just not here because I wanted to differentiate which foot's at the front, which foot's at the back. I don't know why, but I associate Trish with lilies. Q Gold Experience's sound effect. Might be the pink and white, and Trish's predominantly pink. There's a green outlined white lily tucked in her ear here and embroidered on her butterfly sleeves. Speaking of the sleeves, they're attached to the bodice. Those gold diamond links on her chest aren't embroidery, and that's not a green cross. It's a green plus sign pendant hung by a halter style choker draped around her neck and hidden by her clavicle. I wanted to incorporate the halter element based off of This Is Lele's drawing of baby Trishy. Last thing I did before signing the piece was outlining her skin. That was the plan from the get go. No coloring in, just a plain pink outline, non metallic, non glittery outline. But I was still anxious that the neon might clash. Yet I was so happy how it turned out because it looks really pop artsy and modern. Downside is the scanner interprets it as pastel pink. What I posted is as good as it gets. This video redeeming that factor where y'all can see it as it should be. Hell, I had to compensate a lot of stuff with the scanner, including ripping off the page from the sketchpad to scan it properly because it was so warped from the watercolor and inking. I had to roll and bend it to lessen the warp. Speaking of inking, I learned a new technique. If your pen's ink is suspended or separated in the cartridge and it's keeping y'all from writing despite having plenty of juice left, get several scratch papers, fold them till y'all got a nice padded pad, and go tak 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 till ink flows freer than fish in a river. Do this with the cap off, by the way. While working on Senyorita Una, I actually got triggered to do another quote unquote quickie. Yes, it's JoJo. Yes, it's Filipiniana. Wait and see what it'd be. Sticky fingers crossed it'd come out as baller as this one did. Which is great since I can't remember the last time I designed outfits and accessories for fun, Filipiniana or otherwise. Now, a lot of my work hasn't aged gracefully. I was a teen figuring shit out and had cringy taste, but consider it a foundation anyway. Designing as a hobby even before high school, I know some stitches but never made a full garment outside of home economics and recycling materials for an ecology elective class fashion photo shoot. So basically, my main hobby back then was fashion illustration or concept art. Just dig through my cringe ass early DeviantArt days. But I'd like to think I changed for the better. One August, in a bid to share my culture with the global JoJo community, I drew some of the characters in Filipiniana, some doing traditional activities like games called the Palarong Pinoy, dances, serenades. Technically, it's not complete. Before I could finish it, August ended and I was busy with other stuff. What's missing? ACDC in indigenous Mindanao attire and WAMU in pre-colonial Bisaya garb. Santana ain't included because he hasn't earned his tattoos, in my opinion. Cars already has two drawings in Cordillera fashion and tattoos. I'll continue them another time, just not now. Because I'm more adept with feminine figures and colonial style, Trish was easy to do. With Pillarmen, I need to pay special attention to proportions and muscles to get their anatomy absolutely correct. All the more so with indigenous costume research. Because I'm from Manila and don't come from an indigenous background, I have to be careful in illustration, pay attention to details and cultural significance. I may be an outsider to these ethno-linguistic groups, but the lot of us are collectively Filipino and I want to do right by my people because it's still representation. Coincidentally, while I was working on Senyorita Una, I went shopping with my mom for gowns for their vow renewal. We went to Divisoria and Bindondo, aka Chinatown, and the marketplace area there, specifically the dresses, gowns, formal wear shopping area. Y'all got a smorgasbord to work with, a lot of varieties to choose from, many of which are Filipiniana and in no short supply. That's how ubiquitous it is for us. Parties, baptismals, weddings, there's bound to be someone wearing Filipiniana. And speaking of Filipino language and culture, pun not intended, I swapped through three different titles. Prinsesa ng Italia, Dalagang Italiana, then arriving at Senyorita Una, which is valid both in Italian and Filipino. In Italian, it means Miss Una, but in Filipino, well, broken Tagalog, it could mean first miss or lady first, not first lady. I don't know. The difference between spelling, because the Roman Empire was a thing, but their colonies said, hey, let's jumble some syntax and accents. They sound close enough anyway. Una in Filipino could also mean start or beginning depending on the context. A lot of Filipinos loan words from Spanish, but where the letter C should be, we nixed entirely for S's and K's, names like mine being exceptions. Also, Nyas used in Filipino, but usually swapped for spelling with NY, as in Senyor, Señora, Señorita. In Italian, you'll spell it with IGN, as in Signor, Signora. Dalaga in Filipino means young lady, young woman. Dalagang Italiana is not a Night Vale reference, and though dalaga is a noun, it ain't a title or honorific. Binibini is the formal way to address an unmarried woman, like your teacher who keeps riffing on their love life while in class at the escuela. Meanwhile, for the Tagalog to Spanish spelling of princesa or principe, again the C's are omitted for S's. But in Italian, it's principe and principessa, which I learned from the 1997 movie La Vita è Bella, aka Life is Beautiful, aka the movie that made my insides laugh, then ugly cry, then compare to the boy in the striped pajamas with a Y, then collectively mentally emotionally anguish over for a couple of moments before resuming my life. So that's the influence of Spanish colonial rule influenced by the Roman Empire in a shell nut. Patata, patata, tomate, pomodoro. Teka! Dulce, dolce, dulcis, Deo, Diyos, Deus, Diu, Kono Dioda! Y'all got the gist. How do I feel about the dub? Uh, the English dub for Golden Wind. I kind of like it. I'm no accent expert, but I remember Roger Craig Smith, who played Ezio Auditore da Firenze in Assassin's Creed, talking about regional accents and dialects. And Italy's one of those places where one area ain't gonna sound like the other. So I suppose having the dub voice actors not having any accent is the least offensive choice for the dubbing direction to take. I also like the Phantom Blood dub, but correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the UK kind of like Italy where the regional accents also vary greatly and yet part one's dub is pretty aight, right? Europe natives, what y'all think? What's especially weird to my ears, though, is hearing these American accents sprinkle gratuitous Italian now and again, like cazzo and stronzo. Other words I know too, like ragazzo meaning boy, but there's a lot I've yet to know. So most of the time I got no clue what the phrases they're saying. Anybody got a glossary on this merda? Before I head off, shout out to my Steam homies. Yeah, I got hacked and scammed because I'm a dummy. No, it wasn't gambling or trade related. It was the I accidentally reported you scam. But I got my account back and everything's kosher for now. Back to the rest of y'all. Y'all know where to find me. Tally ho to the links below. Support me, stalk me on Coffee, Redbubble, Twitter at Ibapa. Join the Crystal Cult, subscribe to get crystallized, and ciao for now. Arrivederci. Ari means genitals in Filipino.